Welcome to this week's edition of the Block CourageCast. We got some new blood on the show this week, but don't worry. The show hopefully will still be just as good, if not better. I am your host, Dave Steinwedel, joined as always by my great co-host and friend, former NFL offensive lineman. He was an Ed Block Courage Award recipient with the Baltimore Ravens. That would be Mr. Wally Williams. Wally, you're rocking the Ed Block shirt. How's things going right now?
Nice and smooth. We kind of getting into this, you get into this space where the football stuff is on schedule. So you have your schedule going after the first couple of weeks of getting back into the swing of it and just being so excited to have the game back on. Now you in that mix where things are becoming kind of creepy and analytical now, and trying to see what's on these NFL teams' minds as they start to take shape. So, hey, still the exciting part of the season, man. Exciting part of the year.
It is, because it sort of feels like you get to that week 4 and things start to make a little bit of sense. You start to get a read on some teams. We'll talk about that. We'll play some stock up, stock downs, taking a look at some of the teams here in the NFL after 4 weeks. But Wally, we don't know who this new guy is that's sitting here on this show. This is
you just adding new faces. What concept do we have with this show now? Are we going off the rails, or are we lining our rails up even more? Which way are we going here?
Well, we're about to find out. It should be interesting. Joining us for the first time ever, he is one of our amazing video people. You've met Sean a couple weeks ago when he hosted. This is Steve. Steve, I'm not even going to attempt to say your last name because, quite frankly, I don't think I've ever said your last name in all the years I've known you. But you are officially on the pod, not just editing it this week. So, Steve, what do you make of now actually getting to hear yourself on this podcast, and then you're going to have to go back and edit it with hearing your voice?
Well, I feel like I've made it to the big leagues already. This is incredible. Like, this is like being behind the scenes. I love it already. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. It might be like how, like, you hear back yourself on video and you're like, oh, that sounds bad. Or oh, that take wasn't how I wanted it to be. So we'll see. We'll see what happened. But I'm excited.
We're expanding that talent, from behind the camera to in front of the camera. So, man, you're diversifying your portfolio here. It's
exactly.
Great opportunity. There you go. Yeah.
You're going to add it to the resume.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one, to say the least. But we got to address the elephant in the room, I think, and just get it out of the way before really anybody else can say anything.
Yes.
Or say that we're ducking the conversation at hand. And that would be about our team, the Baltimore Ravens, because goodness gracious, this has not gone well, to say the least. 1-3, a rash of injuries have taken over this team. So, Wally, as the former player on this show, I'll start and ask you this question. Just what do you make of what's happened here with the Ravens?
Well, injuries have been catastrophic. And, for them to not be able to close out games, defensively, I think that, first of all, it's something that, Baltimore faithfully haven't seen, for a very, very long time. And it reminds me of the teams that I played on, actually, when our defense was ranked 31st or 30th in the NFL, and our offense was ranked 3rd or 4th in that year. We scored points, but couldn't finish games. We were losing the end. When you lose your best pass rushers and you can't put pressure on the quarterback, and your secondary was somewhat anemic at best when the year started, these things have just been a whirlwind of episodes that have been devastating for our defense. Now, the question is, more importantly, do we have time to rebound? Do we have time to fix this? I think, remember last year, the defense started out slow. It wasn't this bad. and it got better as the season progressed. But is it so bad now that we can't rebound from this? And now you equate that to maybe losing Lamar offensively for the next couple of weeks, maybe, which puts more pressure on your defense and probably gives them more opportunities, for failure. So this thing can start sliding downhill very well. It's halfway. It may not end until that defense in that situation, those guys start getting healthy over there.
All right, Steve, bring your hot takes. What do you make of this?
This is a terrible way to start it off, but I feel like the way this season started was such a worst case scenario. Like, you think about it before the season, you're like, you're going to be great unless everyone gets injured. The comebacks in the fourth quarter happen again against us. And I think really what has been happening is not only the injuries, I think seriously the Ravens are getting a lot in their head about the way they collapse at the end of games. Not that they're expecting it, but that it's becoming really hard for them to deal with closing out games or coming back like they tried to do against the Lions. So I feel like there's a lot of internal things that they're dealing with from like a mental perspective on top of the injuries that just makes it so difficult to win games right now. I'm interested to see if they can actually respond positively at some point with this stretch of Lamar going away, potentially with his hamstring injury. If they could string even 1 or 2 wins together to try to gain the momentum back, because like Wally said, it's the train it's going downhill fast, and you got to do something to catch it. And I don't know. I'm interested to see what they can do in the next couple weeks. If that doesn't happen, if something doesn't happen, then it gets really scary.
I think the biggest question, and Wally, you kind of touched on it, and it's all going to hinge on what can the offense do, because right now that defense, with all the injuries that are on that roster defensively, I just don't know if they're going to have the horses to be able to stop anybody. Because, after a while, you have to think that you can only take so many injuries before it's just like you're done. You just don't have the playmakers. And I fear when I look at that team, that defense, all the injuries on that side of the ball, plus a lack of performance, is just going to doom them. And now you have this big question about Lamar Jackson and whether how long he's going to be out. Word is it's 2 to 3 weeks, but there's nothing official. Can Cooper Rush manage the game? I mean, this is going to have to be Derrick Henry time. I don't think there's any other way around it if you are the Ravens. That has to be your offense, and Cooper Rush can't turn the ball over, and you got to hope the defense starts to make some adjustments.
Look, and you're exactly right as far as what time is going to have to be. It's going to have to be the Ravens, okay, developing a game plan and moving forward here that will consume time. They have to win time of possession, okay? What does that mean? Running the ball. So maybe one thing you can take from the game that we saw against KC is that Justin Hill had a long run in that thing and showed his speed. But the same, that's what it's going to have to be for the Ravens to kind of give themselves an opportunity to get healthy, okay, and give that defense time, okay? The offensive line has to take over, okay, has to be able to control the line of scrimmage and win games. And the thing about it is, these losses that we're talking about are side of the Lions, but we may see the Lions again. These are teams in the AFC that you will see. You will see these guys at the end of the year, but we had questions previously, can the Ravens beat the Bills? Can the Ravens get the Chiefs? Because you have to get over these teams to get out of the AFC and give your chances, give your team a shot. And, those questions still have not been answered. And the KC question has been there for the last maybe about 5 years now, right, guys? It's been there a little bit. And we still have confidence that the Ravens are able to jump up and beat that competition, even when we're healthy.
Yeah, and that to me feels like the big dagger almost with this Raven team is you put yourself behind the eight ball at 1-3. Now again, your 3 losses are to Buffalo, Kansas City, and Detroit as my camera cuts out. That's lovely. Like, you lost to good teams.
Correct.
So that's the benefit. The problem is, as we sit here, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse for the Ravens. And I don't know how you fix it with all these injuries that have occurred on this roster. And you never like, and Wally, you know this because we coach, you don't like to use the injury excuse as the reason why. But that's sort of a very good argument to make right now is the injuries have just decimated this team to a point of maybe not returning.
And this thing happens. I mean, look, if you want to have a ray of light there, okay, here's the ray of light that at the end of the day, you're sitting third in the division, okay, because they're having bigger problems down there in Cincinnati. So, there's a beam of light here to say, okay, let's give ourselves some time to do this. But it's going to have to be one up front. It's going to have to be one with our other guys. Mark Andrews, and I don't know the status of Isaiah Likely is going to be back this week, next week. Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Voorhees, all these guys have to take over the game and control the run game is going to become a premium because really the Ravens never built on beating you with their arm. Lamar had the skill to do it if he had to, but the foundation of it is a strong running game and Henry back there. And he has Henry. Okay, we talked about heal all these guys. They have to become major contributors until the Ravens will be able to get back on track, not just by getting Lamar back, but getting those guys back healthy on the other side of the ball.
I feel like it's also a silver lining of it is the Ravens have dealt with so many injuries in the past, especially since 2020. I remember 2020, 2021, and 2022. The Ravens were always decimated with injuries, and they always had a lengthy list of people who weren't practicing, questionable. They were out for a long time. And those Ravens teams showed a little bit of fight. I think 2 out of the 3 of them made the playoffs, and one of them won a playoff game. So we've seen it in the past where they can fight through injuries. This might be the biggest hill they have to climb as far as injuries against them, but we've seen it happen with them in the past. It could happen again.
I just think it's so hard if you're the Ravens. Now, the schedule is also very beneficial to the Ravens, and I think that cannot be overstated that you're playing a bad Texans team right now.
Mm-hmm.
You get the Rams at home instead of going to them. You get the Bears at home, and then you have Miami on a Thursday night, which I think at the beginning we all would have said, oh, man, that's not a great slate for the Ravens. That's not a good 3-game stretch. Now, does it get a little easier? I think the answer maybe, but again, what do you do with how do you bounce back from these injuries? I think it's just going to be the thing that we're going to have to sit there and wait and see with this Raven team. What can they do offensively without Lamar Jackson for this time, and what can they do defensively without your all-pro middle linebacker, your all-pro corner, your all-pro D tackle, best pass rusher, probably your best up-and-coming young corner, and not to mention your starting left tackle is also out. You just have to wonder what is the breaking point and where does this turn into that 2015 team that really struggled, couldn't do anything, which, by the way, here's the irony in this that I don't know if you guys realize.
I know what you're going to say.
In 2015, the Ravens were celebrating their 20-year anniversary and had their worst injury history in franchise history. 10 years later, we're at the 30th anniversary of the Baltimore Raven franchise. And they have a rash of major injuries to major contributors.
Hey, man, that's some Nostradamus kind of stuff that you're throwing out there. Just letting you know, just letting you know. All right, that's the weirdest stat of the year. What are you prognosticating here?
I'm just saying there's a coincidence that I don't think can be overstated here about the weirdness of the fact that they celebrated 20 years of Ravens football, and it was one of the worst injury-filled times. They wore those god-awful gold pants, and they went 5-11. And now in 2025, celebrating their 30th year anniversary, another big rash of injuries.
So 2035. 2035, we're betting on the under for wins.
In 2025, hold your breath. 2035, I should say. Hold your breath on what's going to happen. That's all I'm going to say. Because goodness.
Wow.
You know what? I don't even know what else you can say other than wow. Like you said, Wally, because that's pretty much just the reaction you have to have at this point with this team.
Because listen, we don't want to get into right now. I don't think we want to start having the conversation what happens or where you are collectively as a team, what goes into the rest of the season if you drop the Texans or the Bears as losses.
Oh yeah, no. You drop those games, and I mean we're talking about jobs right now.
Yes.
There's no other way to describe it. There's nothing else you can say other than we're talking about a lot of guys that potentially don't have jobs by the end of the year, which is a crazy stat, crazy thing to say out loud, but we all know that's a realistic possibility. Hold on. Need to bring in our guy here. DC, Duane Clemons, just hopping on with us. DC, it is great to see you.
Great to see you guys. How you doing, fellas, man? Missed you guys.
Everything's good, man. How you doing? How you feeling? All those things like that. We all deal with with our brothers, man. So how you feeling?
It's been a hard week. Still trying to stop asking yourself those questions that you're never gonna get answers to. I think that's probably the hardest thing. Trying to figure out why you didn't see it coming, and the fact that I was just with him 2 weeks ago. Talking about Rudy Johnson. One of my best friends from my playing days. And we were just planning his birthday, which is going to be coming up this week. It's just beyond words, like how weird and how much of a deficit I feel like is missing out of my life. It's man, there's a hole that'll never be filled without my boy Rue J. But I'm trying to keep taking one step forward, and as life goes on, just trying to remember him for the beautiful person he was and all the great memories I have, and just trying to be thankful for all the days that I have, and hopefully we'll get to have in the future.
Very poetically said. We talked about it last week a little bit, DC, while you were away. Tough time for the podcast family, so we were thinking about you last week. But we're glad to have you back here. Glad you get to talk some football with us. And I do want to ask, because we're talking about the Ravens before we kind of shift gears and move on to something else, what do you make of what you're seeing with the Ravens here?
Well, it's kind of a tale of two stories. This was once a team that was almost like every year they always kind of get picked early on to be the de facto incumbent champions, but then it seems like there's a little bit of an emotional deficit that kind of happens where they get into these tough games and these environments where you got to be clutch, and somehow they find a way not to be clutch in those situations. And so I think it's also another double buzzsaw that they run into a hungry Chiefs team at Arrowhead who finally gets their superstar receiver back, Xavier Worthy. And I think the league isn't really aware of how good that kid is, but he's going to make a huge difference for, not only the Chiefs this year, but I think he's going to be a game changer for the entire league. It kind of reminds me of I played with Randy Moss his rookie year, and he came on and just lit it up. Whereas I feel like even though Xavier is not a rookie, he's really kind of getting his first year where he's really knows the system and the timing is there. We see that, we're probably only 2 or 3 plays away from probably putting up 50 points against the Ravens. So I think this team is just getting dangerous, and the Ravens ran into them at possibly the worst possible time. They're getting healthy and they got a chip on their shoulder because they've been beaten. So it's like messing with a dog that's been abused, and now you finally step into that cage and he decides he's gonna rip your face off.
It was an ass whooping now. I mean, there's no doubt about
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. I don't think I've ever seen so many players hurt. Like, man, they came into the game hurt, but they left really hurt.
It was bad.
I felt bad for them. Like, man, yeah, stop the game. Like, y'all just need to. I don't know if there's a flag they could throw, a towel, but if the teams could throw in a towel, I feel like they would have threw the dang towel in. Like, we just want to get out of here.
I wanted to stop watching the game, and I don't I don't typically say that about Raven games a lot, but yeah, that was that was a brutal one to watch, to say the least. All right.
Oh, hold on, wait a minute. Are you going to talk about the hamstring though? Did I miss that part? Like, do you really believe there's a hamstring issue, or do you feel like somebody just got pulled? Like, I don't know, Dave. What you think?
Well, considering the fact he's probably going to miss 2 to 3 weeks, is what the latest word is. I'm going to tend to believe that there was some sort of hamstring problem for Lamar Jackson. Like, serious enough that there was not a shot of him coming back in that football game, if that makes sense.
It does.
Well, definitely it wasn't worth coming back at that particular point. It was too much heat. Okay, so you may can have a tweak coming and be like, I can make it, but with these guys coming in this particular tempo, we're not going to try it.
And you know what?
This can be long. This can be a long-winded thing if I try to get out there and tough it. So let me dial this thing back and go ahead and chalk this up. But this is an ass whooping. Live to play another day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I do believe the seriousness, the serious nature of Lamar's hamstring was enough that he could not go back into that game. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind about that. I think the bigger question the Ravens will have to ask themselves, and it's going to start with Eric DeCosta as we're going to move off this in a second, is how much of the blame falls at his feet. Because we've seen better rosters put together where it sort of feels like the depth has been better. But is it fair to say the depth is not nearly as good? Because there feels like there's just been such an incredible drop-off in terms of talent when these guys go down this year.
Now, you don't want to move off these Ravens. You want to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, when you lose your whole D-line, though, can you do anything? And then you lose your top offensive lineman? Like, I don't know if there's how much depth can you have when you lose all of
them? That's a good question. As we'll find out. But we're going to play a little. We're going to go to the stock market for the NFL here. I'm going to throw out some teams, and you guys are going to tell me whether you think the stock is up, that you believe in this team, or the stock is down. And it's time to sell your soul and get the hell out of Dodge while you still got your money in your hand. We're going to start in the AFC, and we're going to go to the AFC East and the 2-2 New England Patriots. We talked about them in our preview pods. We were a little high on them, Steve, you're the special guest, your first time. Stock up, stock down. How do you feel about the Patriots?
I'll go stock up. I think that 2-2 at the moment is a decent start for a team, especially for what they looked like last year. I know I'm pulling up their schedule right now. I got to remind myself of who they faced. Um, they've had a decently easy schedule to start off, but I think what Patriots fans wanted to see and what the rest of the NFL wanted to see is how Drake May is going to look in this first half of the season, and really just his second year in the NFL. Um, and I think we've seen a lot of growth. Um, the offense looks a lot better. I know people are very confident about Vrabel being in New England and being a vocal leader, and they like the stuff that he did in Tennessee. So I think for a 2-2 start against an easy schedule, I think it's a pretty good start for them. I think the stock's rising. Not a lot, just a little bit.
Okay. DC, your take on the
I,
Patriots.
I would agree with Steven. Their stock is definitely rising. Plus, with the fact that you have Miami and the Jets who are, you know, definitely not rising. I feel like they're in a great position, but really only the Buffalo Bills that they got to really, fight with to contend for the division. So I think they're in a good position to actually possibly be the second team in that division to actually sneak into the playoffs with a little bit of luck. Obviously, I don't think they're going to dominate their way there, but the way the schedule's laid out, I think they could get lucky and slide in there somehow.
Wally.
Well, yeah, their stock is rising. Their stock has been rising ever since Vrabel got there. I mean, you're talking about Patriots, 3.5 or whatever it is, because he brings a mantra and a style in that's very very old school and very tough and very player, mentality dominated. It's always played like that. He coaches like he played. And that resonates on the field with his players. Now you got McDaniels over there coordinating and some of the old boys over there running the same kind of stuff and getting those guys back going. Yeah, their stock is rising. All right, the Jets and the Dolphins are sitting back behind them at 1-3. I don't see those guys making any kind of improvement. So the Patriots can be. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they're a team that will speak up on some guys and surprise some guys as the season goes.
I'm going to say stock up on the Patriots for now. Drake May has played well. The offensive line, I think, is a little bit better than some people were giving them some credit for. We haven't really seen the run game, though, that I think we expected New England to have. But you can feel the Vrabel effect with this Patriot team. You can see the Vrabel effect. And really, this is a team, let's not forget, that could be 3-1. They had a game against Pittsburgh that they let slip away that you left that game going. The Patriots may have beat themselves more so than Pittsburgh beat the Patriots. So I like their stock. I think their stock up. In the AFC North, let's talk about those Steelers because they are 3-1. They had the big win over the Vikings over in Ireland. Wally, are you high on the Steelers or hold on? Let's give it a little time here.
Me?
Yeah, you. Thought you got stuck there.
I'm always low on those damn Steelers. The thing about that team where I can't give them, that kind of credence yet. For all the Steelers accolades where they are right now being 3-1, they have no run game. Absolutely no run game whatsoever. Okay, their offensive line has been absolutely terrible, and they have won games miraculously. And that game against the Vikings was to me strictly all defense. So I don't think that stock is. I'm not putting anything on those guys. So no, that not the Steelers.
Steve, are you joining Wally in the not buying the Steeler train yet?
I am. I agree. The running game has not been there yet for them. which is a little bit surprising because Mike Tomlin in the past has had pretty good run games. But I don't know. They're just a weird team. I still like the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. He's older. I mean, obviously he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So you have the experience back there. But it feels like they might be getting a little lucky. Like we talked about the Patriots slipping away at the end of the game against the Steelers. They got the Jets. The Jets don't look great this year. And then the Seahawks just kind of took care of business against them. So I think they're winning games right now, but they're a team that, for their track record in the past few years, we just need to see more of it.
All right. Well, I'm going to go, DC. I'll let you go after me. I'm going stock up right now, but more so because of the state of the AFC North. Cleveland, we know the struggles Cleveland had. Now the word is that they're going to start Dylan Gabriel this week in London over Joe Flacco. The Ravens, we just spent a lot of time talking about their struggles offensively. Like, their stock is up. I have zero faith that they're going to be able later in the year without a run game to be able to do anything against the powerhouses in this AFC. So they're stock up, but a lot of that is stock up because of the lack of pressure that they're getting from AFC North teams.
Well, I definitely agree that their stock is quasi up because of the landscape, but with the consistency that Pittsburgh has always been able to put themselves in a position at the end of the season, if they're already in this position now, I got to believe that they're going to be the front runner to win the division at this point, with Cincinnati losing their quarterback. Obviously, Cleveland's going to make a quarterback change. Baltimore, we just don't know what's going to happen with them. I mean, it might be the next 6 weeks. I don't even know if they can put together a formidable team out there between the injuries on defense and offense. So, I mean, their season might be over by week 8 at this point. So, I mean, to me, Pittsburgh has the clearest shot to win the division. They got the best quarterback with Lamar hurt and Burrow's hurt. So, I mean, to me, I think that this is a team that's going to be in the playoffs. And I think as the season gets colder, I think they're a team that's going to get better in that cold weather because Rodgers knows how to play in cold weather. Those receivers and that team is built to play in a shootout. Their defense is built to play in a shootout. And if Rodgers can stay healthy, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't win their division and be a top seed in the playoffs.
All right, 2 teams in the AFC South we want to talk about. The first one being the Jacksonville Jaguars at 3-1. Big win over San Francisco. Steve, stock up, stock down.
Stock up, for sure. I think the Jaguars surprised me a little bit. I didn't know about this whole thing with Liam Cohen coming into the season. I am still a little bit worried about Trevor Lawrence and if he's going to become that real, true elite quarterback. But the quality of wins that they had, especially against the 49ers, I thought that was a good sign. Actually, looking back against the Texans, that was a little shaky. But I think for the most part, they're gaining momentum with a new coach, a new system, and I think it's stock up a little bit for them.
I am stock up. I'm very high on this Jacksonville team. Very high on this Jacksonville team. I think that the talent is there. I think this is the best team in the AFC South, hands down.
I don't know. It's Jacksonville, man. Trevor Lawrence, I think I gave up on him, man. I think he's going to show flashes, but I just don't think it's ever going to be like, hey, he's a consistent 12, 13 win guy that's going to basically dominate and give you that playoff contender. Especially they got Duval, and especially they got to go to Arrowhead next week. So I feel like it's stock up, but then they're in for a rough week. I think having to come to
KC goes to Jacksonville.
Okay, so that I give him a little bit better chance. I was gonna say if he had to go to Arrowhead, that's going to probably be a rough day for them up there. But I think that gives them a chance. But the Chiefs are rolling right now. I don't think this is the time that they want to run into them, and I feel like they're going to be manhandled this week with that receiver core.
Ooh, ball.
I was trying to figure out whether Steve was doing that or not.
Hey, I'm saying, I'm down here in this area, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And look, it's a lot of hype going on. They got a lot of Travis Hunter hype going on. They're sitting there 3-1. All right, the unit's looking real fresh. All those things like that. Okay, it's a lot of Duval hype going on right now. As an investment, because I know their owner got a lot of damn money. All right, they put a lot of money into this infrastructure down here. It's a good investment. So maybe because I see it that way, I'll put my money over here in Jacksonville. it's a good financial investment. Now, will those finances translate to wins on the field? You got to watch these guys, man. The Jaguars, DC remind me of some of them bingo teams I used to play against, bro. Okay.
They're dangerous, huh?
They're dangerous. Okay. They're loaded with first-round picks over there. High first-round picks. Okay.
Winter is coming. This is not their time.
So right now, I'm gonna ride with the Jaguars. We're gonna see what happens in November, December here, coming up. But right now, I mean, they're loaded with talent. Okay, their roster is deep, and you have to watch that talent level. If those guys get it clicking, okay, it can be some things brewing in Jacksonville.
I want to go to the AFC West. DC, we'll start with your Kansas City Chiefs. Stock up, stock down on the Chiefs.
Oh, this is definitely stock up. Having Xavier Worthy was definitely a major catalyst to everything that offense wants to do, everything Kelsey wants to do, everything the running game wants to do. And without having that speedy receiver that keeps those safeties basically on their heels and constantly thinking they got to take another step back, none of our offense really functions the same. But with the fact that Xavier is back and with Rashee Rice coming back in a couple of weeks, this offense is about to get real dangerous. And so, I think the only real issue is just maybe the offensive line, just getting that right tackle to stop getting penalties and actually just line up correctly. But I think they're probably the most dangerous team in the league right now in terms of after these first 3 weeks. I think people pretty much thought they were left for dead. But now with the resurgence of those two receivers alone, and not to mention the depth that they were able to develop the first 3 weeks with the young receivers, Tyquan Thornton, Jason Brownlee, and even Royals, there's a lot of good receivers in that room with Brown and Juju Schuster. So I just don't see how teams are going to be able to match up when you got 3 guys running 4-2, and then the backups are coming in running 4-2s and 4-3s as well. It's going to be a long day for some teams in the AFC.
I'm owing stock hold on Kansas City. How about that? Stock hold. Because I want to see, can you do it against a team that's not decimated like the Ravens? So a stock hold situation on Kansas City.
Stock rising. I'm gonna go. I gotta take it. Look. Had these 2 games been different, had the Ravens beaten the Chiefs, then I don't think I would be taking this position. But it's not only that they beat the Ravens, it's how they beat the Ravens. Okay, I mean, this was a attack, an assault on someone's character. Okay, you see what I'm saying? And it was the way they did it. Okay, and you're right. I got to give it DC on this one. You get your pieces back a little bit, explosive receivers back. You get Rice back. Hey, they have the components there. Kelsey's looking faster. Get that run game going a little bit. they look dangerous because that defense is still playing quite well. Okay, the defense is still playing lights out defense. So yeah, you have to watch those Chiefs. They're not going anywhere just yet. They're not going anywhere just yet. They're not ready to just go. Hey, y'all not ready to just go to the wedding and stuff like that right now. Y'all trying to play some ball.
Now we did forget about Buckers having some issues, so we do got to watch our special teams. So that could be interesting if we have to come down to winning close games again.
Steve.
Yeah, I want to say Stockhold because I agree the Ravens were so decimated, but we can't not say stock rising because this team has made the Super Bowl so many times and it just feels like they're inevitable and they have the experience and Spag's a great DC. So as much as I want to say it didn't prove that much on Sunday, it's just more the fact that it's just the Chiefs and they can get it back at any time and they can turn it on at any time and they've proven that they can do that. So yeah.
How about the Denver Broncos? Are also 2-2 in the AFC West.
I mean, Brock Purdy, man. Brock Purdy has no, not Brock Purdy, not Purdy. What's my guy's name?
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. Bo Nix has. I mean, that's been the surprise of the year. I would say, look, he's not quite in Baker Mayfield form, okay, and being that important to the team and that resurgence and all those things like that. Like he is giving that MVP proclamation. But look, Bo Nix has changed, I think, the fabric of that organization, him and Sean Payton. Well, that is a very resilient team, and it has some ingredients there of championship quality. So that's something that we're rising with the Broncos, man. The Broncos, are a team in that division who didn't really see coming. We know about the Chargers and Harbaugh. You got the Chiefs out there, but the Broncos are waking guys up and opening eyes. You can put the Broncos and the Colts in the same boat as to who is raising an eyebrow to somebody that will be contending for, well, at least in the playoffs. Okay, when the season it goes to the end.
I'm going stock down. Denver just has not looked as good as I thought they were going to through the first 4 games. And I don't necessarily think it's a Bo Nix problem as much as it is just some of the other pieces. I think J.K. Dobbins has been great, personally. I think J.K. Dobbins has been huge for this Denver team. I just think if you are that Bronco defense, you haven't played to that level that we expect you to or thought you were going to be coming into the season. They've sort of underwhelmed, so I'm going stock down because we thought this was a sleeper team that could pick off Kansas City in the AFC West, and really the team we should have talked more about is the Chargers.
Yeah, they got a lot of credit way before the season started for basically being the heir apparent. So I kind of agree with you, Dave, that this team is definitely a team that's on. I'm gonna say stock down just because I know with Bo, you're gonna probably have a few more games with a learning curve, and it's gonna get harder because as the season goes, these defenses are gonna get more sophisticated, and we got more and more film, and it's just gonna be tougher and tougher because as Kansas City gets healthy, that team's gonna be better, and it's gonna be much harder to win against. I don't know what's gonna happen with the Chargers. They might have kind of fell into a luck if Alt continues to be injured. That might be the fork in their season if they don't have an offensive line to protect Huber. But I think they'll finish definitely second place in the division because obviously the Raiders aren't really lighting it up. But if San Diego can't get healthy, I think they're definitely the second place team, but they're nowhere near ready to be the contender or the heir apparent to the AFC.
I'll say stock up a little bit. I think that I agree. They've been a disappointment, especially on defense. But that team was 1 overthrown pass to Cortland Sutton away from beating the Chargers a couple weeks ago. And obviously the Bengals, like, they're struggling so much that it's hard to look at that game the other night and say that, the Denver Broncos dominated and all that stuff. Because, I mean, they did, but again, it was against a struggling Bengals team. But I think Bo Nix, I don't know, he has a little bit to him where he's a competitor and he can stay in games. And I think the season, it goes up and down. We could see this defense get hot at the end of the year, and that would totally change things. I think their offense is actually looking pretty decent to pretty good to start off the year. So I'm interested in Denver the rest of the way. I think they could be a stock-up team.
Steve, I disagree with you, but that's
That's
we
okay.
always need the contrarian voices on this podcast. Let's go to the NFC. A couple teams to talk about. The Commanders at 2-2. Another one of those teams that we had some high hopes for coming into the season, but they haven't looked great either. So, stock up, stock down. DC, I'll start with you on the Commanders.
Say stock down just because of, I think Daniels with an injury, he's definitely not going to be the same guy without the mobility. And just depending on how long that lingers, that could be an impediment to their whole season. Now, they got to go against Philly and Dallas, who are playing well. And then now that New York has Dart, I feel like now this division could become almost stacked against them, like looking at how things are going to shape up this last three quarters of the season. I think, it just got a lot harder now that, New York's figured out who their quarterback is. Dallas is playing with a lot of confidence, even with the big trade behind them, and the fact that Philly's always going to be formidable because they just got so many good players. I don't see how they move forward these next couple weeks and have a lot of confidence that they can actually beat all these guys in their division as well as the people that they got to face outside their division.
Yeah, stock down. No mas. No mas. They are, without Jaden Daniels, nothing. He's such a huge part of that team and what makes that offense function. You don't know anybody else really out of him and McLaurin. So if he's not there, then that team is just is not operational at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think stock down because of the injury to Jane Daniels and Terry McLaurin, and they just have not. Oh, and Eckler. That's a big loss for them because
yes.
you made and you go back and you always think about these trades and these moments, and you have to remember they traded Brian Robinson, former Ed Block recipient, in the preseason. Now you almost sit there and kind of go, boy, don't you kind of wish you had Brian Robinson still a little bit? Like that's a big loss. And now you got a banged up Jaden Daniels. Who knows when that knee gets healthy, how he's going to look when he comes back. McLaurin's banged up. We know Deebo Samuel, as good as he is, he has an injury history. So there's a lot of questions with the Commanders. They're stocked down just because the NFC is slightly better than I think everybody kind of expected them to be. Like, we didn't expect the Packers. The Eagles are good. Tampa Bay, and then you have the NFC West, and we'll talk about them in a minute, because the NFC West has 3 teams at 3-1 and 1 team at 2-2. Like, it's a better conference right now than I think anybody expected it to be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The NFC North, we're not going to touch on because we pretty much are in agreement that the Packers and Lions are legit. Vikings, if they get J.J. McCarthy back, could be legit. The Bears, I think, are a year away. But I want to talk about Atlanta at 2-2. Because you have the juggernaut of Tampa Bay at 3-1, which they're probably 3 more minutes away from picking off the Eagles Sunday. They had 3 minutes left, more minutes on that game clock. But Atlanta's sitting there precariously at this 2-2 record. We're going to be going to Atlanta in a couple years for the Super Bowl. Wally, what are your take on the Falcons?
Well, look, Michael Penn, Penix is going to be the focal point of what direction the Falcons go. I mean, we know what he did at the collegiate level. Okay, the injury situation he's had problems with his knees before. Okay, he had problems with it, I think, last year. And can he stay healthy? We know he's a gifted athlete. He has a gifted arm strength and all those things to make pinpoint reactions, pinpoint passes. And we saw a little bit of that was last week. Can they maintain that? Can they have the weapons? The running back, they have there. Is his name Brian Johnson too?
Bijan.
Bijan.
Yeah, that's what it is. Bijan. Look, if you
And
saw
downstairs, they got two good running backs.
right, okay. If you saw them run the ball, they run the ball effectively. Okay, they can take over games. They can take over the time of possession. You know, they have components there. Again, components there of championship caliber. Can they stay healthy? Okay, can they stay focused for an extended season? Because you still have some young pieces there. I mean, I think Rejon is in his second year as a running back. So you still have young pieces there. Can those pieces stay healthy? Because you bring London in, the receiver as well. You have some components. That's almost the triplets. Did we not see a team that had triplets that won championships?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have that talent level fundamentally right there with those guys, and they're young guys as well. So can they stay healthy, and can they maintain these pieces around? So rising. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Their stock is rising. Okay, the Saints is falling. They'll stop. I'm going to invest in those Falcons and take those Falcons now.
I love that Atlanta has a run game, but the fact that they still got that trump card of Kirk Cousins in their back pocket and could possibly make a blockbuster trade, that makes them very interesting to me, because I'm like, they're a team that's like, okay, we got our franchise quarterback, but we still got this guy that a lot of teams could still want in these next couple of weeks that could get them a really big piece this year or possibly for next year. But hopefully that they'll try to win it all this year and actually make a blockbuster deal. Because I'm thinking, I mean, you could get a great pass rusher or maybe a lockdown corner for Kirk Cousins. I mean, that's a strong piece to move off of and not have, because right now you're not getting any value for it.
Trade him back to Minnesota. Let's really have some fun. Stock down on Atlanta for me. It's not Penix, but there's just something I don't love about this Atlanta team. And I haven't quite been able to put my finger on it when I watch them, but I'm not enthralled with Atlanta. And it's not it's a Raheem Morris problem. There's just something about them that just doesn't wow me when I watch them play.
It's a uniform. You want different uniforms. You want the uniform to look like the Lions. That's your favorite.
Here we go. Here we go again with this.
That's all it is.
I'm gonna ignore that comment.
Blue on it.
Let's go to the NFC West before Wally and I start screaming at each other. The San Francisco 49ers at 3-1. Stock up, stock down.
Stock down. Just because they have so many injuries that they're working through, just like the Ravens. And I know I said the Jaguars were a stock up team, but I feel like they should have won that game. They had a couple chances to win it towards the end. So I don't know. They're sitting at a good record right now, but I think that for what I expect the 49ers to be, I think it's a little bit of a stock down.
Stock down simply because of injuries.
Once you start having toe injuries, that's a hard season to ever get back on track. But that turf toe is deadly. And I just don't know how you play on it and keep it and get healthy.
You lose Debo, you let him go. Okay, McCaffrey is iffy. We can't trust him. He's going to get hurt at some point. Back to Brock Purdy, what I said earlier. Now he's hurt. Look, Shanahan can't be that live of a coach, man. It ain't just about play talk. It just can't. I mean, can he?
No.
Can the system be just that tough to crack and be that potent to where you can just lose players but continue to win, with my man Juszczyk back then.
Yeah, nah, it's not the same.
You know,
When your O's start getting smaller, it ain't gonna work out.
it ain't gonna work, man. It's not gonna work. So their stock is definitely going down in Frisco.
All right.
Yeah,
And then what's going on with their coach? Is he a little distracted? The Salah, what's going on?
Oh, Salah with the whole Liam Cohen thing. Which, by the way, I gotta ask you two as the ex-players here on this show. Do you like seeing what Liam Cohen did with Robert Saleh after Saleh made some comments accusing the Jaguars of sign stealing?
Nah, I ain't with all this tough talk, man. I've been like, Salah, come meet me behind the treadmills, and just meet me in the storage area if you really want to talk some stuff. But like, you woofing at somebody and with all the cameras around. That's like what girls do. Like, listen, bro, you got my number. We can meet up at the Walmart in the tire section and handle this real quiet. Like if you really want that smoke. So nah, you confronting him and having words. That's a little girly to me. Like, man, you want to see me, call me and tell me drop a pin. Let me know where you gonna be at.
Yeah, man, we come from a different era. I'm sorry. Look, coaches will fight right there on the sidelines. Okay, whether it be a practice, whatever it may be, if it's on the field, it would just happen, and it wouldn't be a back and forth talking. It would just be, what it is, and I'm just going to come tear your ass in half right now if you don't stop calling these dumbass plays, or you can't stop this team. I don't know if you remember this, DC. What was the one was that Buddy Ryan when they were with the?
Oh yeah, yeah, Buddy Ryan. Was it Dick?
Okay.
Who did he fight? Was it Dick Buckus?
Huh?
Who did he punch? I forgot. Was it Dick?
Kelvin Gilbride, I think was the offensive coordinator or somebody like that.
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
Right. We come from a different space, man. So those things were handled right there, like literally right there on the field. You give a damn if cameras are there or not. Well, these were fisticuffs that would happen.
Absolutely.
All right.
Let's see.
I like that answer, though. I like that answer.
Talking.
Let's get to the final team before we wrap up this podcast. The Seattle Seahawks are 3-1. Had a big win that they almost blew against the Arizona Cardinals. Steve, stock up, stock down.
Stock up. I like the Seahawks this year. I like their defense. I think they're well coached. The only thing I'll say, Mike McDonald, he spent a year or a couple years in Baltimore, and that Cardinals game got a little dangerous at the end of the game. And I know us Ravens fans, we're used to leads being blown in the end of the game. So maybe there's some Ravens DNA that he brought with him to Seattle. But other than that, which I don't think is real, by the way, other than that, stock up. I think they're great.
Stock up because I thought Sam Darnold got a raw deal at the end of his Viking tenure, and he's played great again. Like, to me, there is the Sam Darnold that we all expected him to be when he was the third overall pick. He just needed some time to develop. I think he's, in a great system. He's got some weapons, got a good run game. Like Steve mentioned, they got good defense. Stock up. Seattle, sneaky team in the NFC.
Yeah, stock up, man. Stock up. Seattle has put something together out there on that West Coast that, again, you have the components there and the parts there and young guys, in that space. I mean, Smith, don't give me to pronounce his name. Kajiba Smith? Is that his last name?
Smith and Jigba.
Smith and Jigba. Right. Don't get me pronouncing these names either, right? But, they have a combination there, and then the combination of Walker and Z Carpenter running back, it's potent, man. And those are the things that you need to have successful, teams, successful, offenses to put pressure on defense. Because defense is so good, it's so athletic. You got to have athletes over there to shake them up. And those things have been forming well with Seattle, which has been kind of like you said, a sneaky low team out there on the West because the Rams get so much pub. Seattle's kind of, made their way and taking over that division right now. So we'll see if they can stay there.
Hey, we all finally agree. Stock up on Seattle. I'm loving the fact that they actually you know, I really don't feel like the Rams are really the only team they got to contend with, and the fact that in a few more weeks it's going to be winter, and that lovely 75, 80-degree weather that they get in Cali is going to be a problem when they have to go up north and start dealing with some of these elements. So I think they're in a great position to get in the playoffs and actually take that division.
All right, and that is going to wrap up this Block CourageCast. Hey, congrats. Steve made it through the pod, guys. We didn't chase him away.
Good job, man.
Now I get to edit this for like another hour. So
I was going to say, this is what you get to do the next 24 hours is
Enjoy
literally
you.
listen back to a podcast you just did.
so
Yeah.
much fun.
Make us look good. That's what you do.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, you do a great job, Steve. It was great having you on. Wally, DC,
man.
and I we'll be back next week. More NFL to discuss. Maybe some great guests as well. For Steve, for Wally, for DC, I'm Dave Steinwedel. This has been the Block CourageCast.